Hello and welcome. This is Peter Palmiotti of Human Art Studio, and uh, wake and work. There goes my AC if you hear that. So, yeah, starting a couple minutes later than I wanted to, but had to corral the cats. Um, and yeah, still working with my newest. Getting her in line. Let's see. So this is retro issue 1 on page 14. Um, so moving ahead. Uh, so my newest cat, which I haven't fully decided that I'll be keeping her, but I set up an appointment for her to be fixed. Unfortunately, it's a month away, but thankfully she's not currently in heat, so that's good. Um, and yeah, so today is an attempt for me to try to get onto an earlier schedule again, and I am feeling slightly not awake. um, so it goes. Guess this could be. But yeah, so if you didn't already know, I took in a cat that was with a family that can no longer take care of her. I believe she's probably close to a year old. They described her as kitten, and she definitely seems like a kitten in some aspects. And she kind of reminds me of once had a cat named Thor, who was a Bengal, and uh, one of those striped cats, and I believe his colors were gray and black, and she's like gray and black and white, and really really pretty cat. Um, what will seal the deal is when she if she gets along with my other cats, and you know like initially it was only hissing, and while there's still hissing, um, it just seems like there's a possibility that she will get along with them. Um, I'm hoping. I'm working on it. Yeah, so set her up for employment to be fixed. Although, it's like I don't have the money to do it right away, so I kind of got a deal through the cat peoples of this neighborhood, and that means that I have to wait. I have to wait until the first of next month. No, not next month. Actually, July 1st. She has an appointment. So, guess I'm kind of keeping her that long anyway. Um, so I just put her up. Everybody else is outside, but I put her up. I know this is fascinating to many, but um, put her up in the bathroom, and she's not used to that. She's a shadow cat. She likes to be by my side. Um, Still relatively new here. What up, what up, what? Do, 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 do. So I can hear her cry a little bit. It's like, what am I doing in the bathroom all alone? And while initially she was a ground cat, um, meow, I hear her. She has been roaming the living room here, my studio, and running around my desk and other furniture in here. So I had to put her up somewhere. And bathroom's better than the cage. It's a little bigger. I got the window open for her. She could watch life outside and the birds and squirrels, usually around in the morning. Its temperature's been warmer lately, but I think we're going to have a cool weekend. There's no traffic on I-95 now. Giving you updates on my neighborhood. All right. So this is retro. Just went shopping and is kind of walking around the neighborhood. People recognize him, so he says hello. I guess I want to establish that he's been around for a little bit. This isn't day one retro. And people have asked me, already, like, what's his origin? What, blah, blah, blah. I'm not going to get to his origin off the bat or any time in the initial issues, but I will get to it. Um, it's part of a bigger story. I will be doing like a short comic, not necessarily a mini comic. That would be the origin of his name. Sometime after I get this first issue done. It might be like retro, and then I have a book called Arena. I'm not sure continuity wise what I'll be releasing. Okay, let's see. And do this freehand. All right, so if that's... Oh, I know what I could do. So yeah, this is like my attempt to do what I do here early, and if I was to schedule myself, I would love nothing better than to have like an early shift here. But as you can tell, I was a little delayed, and things kind of went smoothly. Um, with my cats, and even like the neighborhood stray showed up here for some food this morning, which is gravy. And yeah, even though it went smoothly, it's like I usually like the first hour or two of my day is saying hi to each of them and make sure they're fed and fresh water, and um, letting them in or out depending on where they spent the night. Uh, it getting longer days now. There's less nighttime in all of them. Love being outside when it's pitch black. um, so I'm not sure how feasible it is for me to stay on a exact time slot, because for a while there I was really into a system where Rocket um, really loves spending time outside, and I get Clea and Ripley into my bigger cage that I have. And yeah, keep Rocket outside, and that would be pretty smooth. But good old Molly, my newest, I'm still calling her Molly. She's not utterly reliable yet. So we'll have to see. We shall see. We shall see. So I have nothing of a great importance to talk about. Um, but I'll mention something I posted up on my Instagram, which is it was the cover and interior credits page of Uncanny X-Men 360, which is a number that was easy for me to remember. I haven't kept the the best track of like everything I worked on in my long career, because it's always been a lot of not a ton, but a lot of different companies and different books um, and even just sections of books and whatnot. But like a lot of my Marvel work, most of my Marvel work was a lot of random X-Men work. You know, back in the late 90s is when I was up at Marvel. I got an opportunity to, do a lot of overnight, get this page inked, get that page inked. Here's a couple of pages, get this inked, and turn it over essentially overnight. So X-Men 360, which was like an oversized special issue. I think it says on the cover. I forget. It was like maybe some anniversary. I forget exactly, but um, Chris Piccello was the main artist of the issue, and I don't remember inking Chris Piccello because I freaking love his work, and I always a fan. Even back in his what was it, Books of Magic? Was he was artist on that? Yeah, Books of Magic, because that was the Harry Potter looking kid character. Um, which he had a more indie looking style on that book. But then he really punched it up. Definitely when he started doing some X-Men work, and yeah, I know like I think that okay. So I did something in the issue. I would have to look page by page to even see if I remember. But back then, there was, like 7, maybe 9 books at the time, specifically X-Men that Marvel was doing. Some of the stuff was miniseries or they try to make a new series out of this character or that, and then sales weren't there, so they canceled it and started another series with another character. Um, I do remember I did like I inked a couple of different artists on Wolverine. I hear Kitty, which you, the audience, can probably not hear the cat, but I can. um, yeah, I'd have to like pull out some of the pages I inked and what artists I worked on and what issues they were on and yada yada. Um, but honestly, I wish I would have inked a ton more. But it's nice to get my foot in the door a little bit in X-Men stuff. Being a fan of X-Men since Dave Cockrum and Len Wein did the Giant Size X-Men. Um, previous to that, I thought they were cool characters. There was that time when they did the book, canceled the book. I think they might even cancel it twice. They did reprints for a couple issues or however long within the series, um, which is weird for such a short series. But I guess at the time it was like 60 issues was a lot, but whatever number they were at. Meow, I hear you. You're okay. Um, but if if you know X-Men at all, you knew it blew up, and that's why I wound up doing X-Men movies, and that's why there's 40,000 X-Men books at this point. Not because they were all in continuity and kept to the numbering system, because they restarted it a billion times. But there was also a vast array of X-Men random books and miniseries and the like. Okay, so that could be that. Buildings, buildings, background, background. Hey, EJB. Yeah, Generation X was great and weird. Yes, yes, it was. Yeah, I love that early stuff. Um, I forget. Like Humberto Ramos, was he Generation X? Um, Loved his run, and somehow I got to see like his pencil work on it beforehand. Not sure if my brother was inking some of that at some point. I got to see a lot of behind the scenes stuff up at Marvel. So sometimes I forget like what my brother worked on as opposed to what we were able to get our eyes on. It was a great time up at Marvel. Nothing was perfect, but it was before things just went totally out the door with continuity, and before like there was 1,000 X-Men. X-Men is like the Avengers. It's like everybody and their mother was an Avenger. But there was a core group, and it's like with the X-Men, it's definitely like a couple of excellent core groups, and then just random characters that would come in for an issue or two or whatever. And that's always it's always cool to throw in something like that. But then it just got too insane. Too many characters, which is why they did extinction event and the like. It was Piccello, right? Yeah, I lose track of who did what, but there was a lot of interesting artists on the X-Men title books, and great writers, and some really great storylines. And yeah, just that sort of, I dabbled. I inked a couple pages here and there. I remember I was on Wolverine a couple of times, with, inking over a couple of different artists. And I'd asked the editor, like I had two different editors I got work from. Like, can you show me other pages? Do I have to make this look close to what else is being done? Like some artistic continuity to what I'm doing here? Or do I just like do my thing and get it done and get it to you tomorrow? more cases than not, it was like, just do your thing and get it done tomorrow. But yeah, I got a couple of random Wolverine pages. Francis Yu and Roger Cruz were names that come up that I remember. I think I have a couple of samples up at my DeviantArt page, maybe on Facebook. Years and years ago, I posted them up. I remember doing some Gambit pages. I forget the artist's name, but he was one of the popular artists. And then there was Leandro, the sort of Kirby Morbius fusion artist. Inked him on a couple of what was it, cable pages. Man, my new kitty cat does not like being held up in the bathroom. She be crying. Yeah, well, Leandro, or however you pronounce it, I forget now. Loved his work, and even though the pages I got were more Kirby than anything else, man, they were confusing as hell when I got the initial pencils. It was so super tight, and I didn't know what the hell I was looking at. I kind of just inked until I figured it out, which is kind of funny, but they turned out really good. Yeah, I mean, when it comes to Marvel, I didn't get a chance to do a heck of a lot, and I never had runs on books or anything, but like, if you ask me what's my favorite DC character, I kind of go with Superman. It's like everybody loves Batman. That's a given. But I liked Superman. I just felt like, most of the time people don't handle him correctly. He's a tough character to write and have stories for. But like, with Marvel, it's like, okay, like Spider-Man, it's a given. Everybody loves Spider-Man. And, I felt growing up, my first name is Peter. My last initial is P. I was in school once. It's like I relate to Spider-Man in many ways. I'm from Brooklyn. I mean, he was Queens, but close enough. But I really liked Iron Man. And his different suits before they got too insane. It was like a self-made man. Like, he made his own suit and designed it and gave it all its weapons and perks and whatnot. And he did so by working day and night. In many ways, he's like as obsessive and crazy as Batman, but not, for the most part, not as dark until he had a drinking problem. But we're not perfect. But yeah, so one of the most fun things to do was I inked a batch of pages of like this 2-issue storyline in Iron Man that Cal Fury penciled and did the covers for. And I would have loved just to like ink the whole 2 issues. Even though I hated the storyline. um, but I inked what I could because it was like everything was due tomorrow. Um, Meow meow. I hear you, meow meow. But one of the greatest things was Jim did a 2-page spread with the armory, and I think there was at least 20 or maybe even 30. A lot of them were really small, but there were 20 or 30 suits. Um, wall to wall to wall to wall. Meow. Hey, it's Ronnie. What's up? You guys can't hear, but maybe. Um, my new cat Molly is just meow meow meowing. Still getting used to being here. Still getting used to me and the other cats. And now she's got to realize I got to put her up. I can't have her roaming around on my desk when I'm trying to get work done. So she'll have to deal with it. But yeah, so it was it was so good to ink Iron Man. This storyline was like they were really messing up Tony Stark. So somebody went into the past to get a younger Tony Stark to fight the current Tony Stark to the death or something. The whole storyline was messed up, and they erased it or revised it, afterwards. But it was so stupid. um, but it was fun to get an opportunity to work on that book I loved. Um, and I would have loved to ink an issue of Spider-Man, but I did ink it was a Deadpool one shot that Calfury wrote and penciled. Fortunately, never published. By the time we finished the issue, and because of the crazy year in which we did it, it's like half the characters changed costumes, and we would, if it wasn't being shelved as like it was a story that they wanted to be a fill-in somewhere. But right as we got it done, a lot of the characters in the book changed costumes, so automatically we would have had to revise a lot of the artwork. And considering it was like, I think the story was called Deadpool versus the Marvel Universe, and it was like half the Marvel Universe. It was, use this. It was the Marvel Universe minus the mutants, because initially Cal Fury wasn't so into like the X-Men or any of those characters. So he just did like Spider-Man and Fantastic Four and Avengers. And it's like Fantastic Four had some weird costumes at the time, and Thor had a different costume, and like Iron Man was probably using an armor he didn't normally use. I think Spider-Man was pretty much his normal costume. Um, but yeah, then then they kept it shelved and thought about publishing it half a year later, and considered it for a second, and then said nah. I mean, the good thing is, like, we did the work and we were paid, but it was never used. And you can find it online. If you Google Deadpool versus the Marvel Universe, you could probably find it. It's like lettered in black and white. There's a splash page I posted online that a friend of mine. I need to change the cartridge on this, but yeah, this is like a splash page with Deadpool and the Thing. I actually put up on Instagram not too long ago that a friend of mine colored, and it looks like an like an awesome print, possibly, and and maybe I'll make it a print, like a limited print or something down the line, because I always loved it. I don't I don't think it was. I don't think I scanned the original artwork at a high enough DPI. So, like, the coloring might be done on a low res. So you can only really print out a small copy of it before it doesn't look as good and sharp. But I love the coloring that my friend did. Volker is the colorist. He really wants to be a colorist in comics, and he's still doing art and stuff, and he's up on Instagram. Anywho, yeah, so it's like I had 4 years of work through Marvel that kept me busy, but I never really had a run of anything like besides the Deadpool one-shot story. I did actually complete a book, which there was Forceworks, and there was a character called Sentry, and we did a Sentry one-shot. And that was Carefree penciled the whole book, and I inked the whole book, and Carefree, like, I say paint, but it's like did a marker art cover to it. He did a bunch of those for some books at the time. So I'm really proud of that book, even though, like, people recognize Forceworks, recognize the name Sentry. But I think they released the book after, like, that was popular, like like a month after or whatever, like when they decided Forceworks is no longer a title or something to that effect. So it wasn't really big on sales and didn't lead to anything. I think right after my Marvel work, there was a little break, and I wound up inking an Marines miniseries over at Cal Fury. For whoever was in charge of Valiant at that point. So that was early, like, 2000s. And that didn't do great in sales wise, because it was like Valiant was also doing a couple of video games. I think Turok was pretty popular, but this was after that. And so the Marines miniseries was actually tied in with the game somehow. I had never played the game. I don't think I even saw it except for maybe online later. Um, but I was really proud of that. I mean, I think it was 4 issues, and I think I inked those covers. I forget now. I'm pretty sure I did. God, I I'm originally from New York, and up until the point that I left, which was meow, which was around 2006, I had every comic I ever worked on, whether it be I inked a pin up in this, I inked the cover. Oh my goodness, she's attacking my door. Meow. Um, yeah, I had every freaking book I ever worked on. Um, like the first book I ever worked on was a collaboration with my brother. He did more of it, so I don't really necessarily consider that the first book I worked on. The very first book I worked on, from cover to cover, but not the cover, was there was Personality Comics, and this particular issue they did every character from Star Trek, and I got Bones McCoy, but it was Bones McCoy, his real life, DeForest Kelly, his life story, and that was a lot of fun. And some of that was good. A lot of that was crap. I realized, like, early on, I wasn't a great inker. I was a bit heavy-handed. Like anything you learn, you get better. Um, but I literally just jumped into comics. Sure, I drew all my youth, and I went to art school, but I really didn't take it seriously until I entered the comic industry and spent the first 3 or 4 years not only still, like, assisting other anchors, like definitely my brother, but also a couple of other anchors, to get my chops up. And, whatever, whenever I wasn't actually working on something that was paid, I was practicing. I was literally working 7 days a week, um, trying to improve my skills. And, you know, and for a time I did background inks up at Valiant, which was it was a great experience. It was where, I met a lot of friends in the business. Um, I wish they would have gave me, full pages to ink, full books. Um, but they didn't. So my time there was not the longest, but it was definitely a great experience. And definitely, like, at some point, if I ever get the money, I want to open up, and have my own studio where, it'd be me working on whatever I'm working on, and get a number of other people around me working. I just love that studio experience. Although, it's not for me like every day, but if it's my studio, I go when I choose. um, but yeah, it was a great experience. Yeah, I might have been there 8 months or something. You know, Obviously, like, my work on Aquaman wouldn't have happened if I hadn't made friends with Cal Fury up at Valiant. Um, so when we were up at Valiant, I was inking like Razor and some other stuff, and I would always show him my work in progress, and he would see my improvement. So he knew. He knew the potential. And honestly, my skills improved on the first issue of Aquaman. You know, as I've said this before, but like, you know, it's like I really, in a month's time, that it took me to ink issue 10 of Aquaman from cover to cover, but not the cover. Um, I made sure every line I put down was exactly the best line I could put down. And it shows. It shows I worked my ass off. For the longest time, I even had like pretty much a copy of every page from that issue. But you know, I moved around in New York a lot. Had a lot of different apartments. Then once I moved out of New York, I only took what I can carry. So there goes my comic collection. There goes a lot of what I kept for years. Ronnie says, Paige is looking great. Thanks, Ronnie. Appreciate it. Yeah, you know, if you didn't already watch the video, I had the artist of Retro on, and Rich Fuchsia, Richard. And we talked about, you know, his work on Retro, and I knew him before Retro, and he suggested he would love to see like a black and white version of this comic, and I think there's potential for that. You know, I was already going to include, because I think my favorite pages from this book are the first three, because I probably spent a year and a day on each of them. Three, maybe four. Then I got a little looser, or just, you know, normal level of inks. But he suggested a full, just black and white issue, like a special edition black and white. And I would be all for that. Maybe I'll, you know, I do plan to do an Indiegogo with issue 1 of Retro at some point. Maybe I'll make that like a stretch goal. Because, yes, people probably want it. You know, I love seeing other artists and creators, like the black and white versions of their book. So we'll see. We'll see. But yeah, for the first issue of Retro, when it comes out, there'll be, you know, a back section with extra stuff. And I want to do like pencils of page 1, inks of page 1, colors of page 1 without lettering. So you can see like at least the first 3 pages in the different stages. Thought that would be fun. In other news, I talked to my friend Philip Ressert, who's currently kickstarting his first book, Tragedy, up on Kickstarter, and is doing very well. I inked a couple of prints for him on that. He's going to come on my channel at some point to promote that. I mentioned, you know, I have some other people I want to get on here. I'm trying not to do a full schedule yet. Uh, it always seems when I set up a full schedule, I always get knocked off by life and all I have to deal with. Uh, so I figure for the time being, you know, for the most part, I'll be having a couple of videos a week. Like this week has been crazy busy, so I might only do this stream. It's already Friday. I don't really want to stream over the weekend. I got other things to focus on. I'm trying to get at least one or two projects off my back so that I can give more time to not only retro but graphic novel is a big task I got going on right now. Dun, 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 dun. Buildings, 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 windows, windows, windows. Ah, so many. Hey, nefarious. I'm woke. I don't think you're woke enough. I mean, awake. Oh, welcome, welcome. Let's see. Oh, this has nothing to do with anything, but I did check out, was it Army of the Dead, Zack Snyder's movie on Netflix, and quite enjoyed that. I mean, I watch a ton of stuff, and perhaps too much, but um, it's definitely one. It's it's exactly what you think it's going to be, and it was good. And I pretty much like most of what Zach's done, so I don't have a problem with his style or whatever. Uh, I appreciate what he does. I still say like Sucker Punch. A lot of people don't like that movie. I really like that movie. I hate like the amalgamation of like, hey, we're going to throw everything in our movie and that will make it awesome. Um, that's not always the case, but in the case of Sucker Punch, I think it worked really, really well. And also on top of that, it was very much style. It was very much, like we're going to throw this in and that in and blah, blah, blah. I mean, it worked like story wise and all that. Um, but what he did with music in that film, I don't think has been done anywhere else in a similar way. And I really appreciate the movie for that. Why so many bricks, bricks, bricks? Okay. Ba, ba, ba. So hey, if you appreciate all that I do, between streaming and just posting up artwork, and I plan to do a lot more of my own original artwork. I can't wait. I can't wait to like 2 years down the line where I get like a backlog of projects I want to cut through with my inks, so I can just then focus on my own creations mostly. I'll never stop working for other people, but I want it to be less of a thing. Anywho's, yeah, I need to really step it up and start producing at least a lot more of my own artwork, finished artwork. And Man, this is like a short stack of stuff I started, just art pieces that I also need to finish. I never thought I'd be the artist that has like 100 things going on, and depending on my mood and what kind of artistic rhythm I find myself in, it's like I'll go with that piece today that I want to work on. Blah blah blah. Sucker Punch is very pretty. It does not have a compelling story. Well, compelling or entertaining, two different things. I found it entertaining. It's not a happy story. um, but I thought it worked well enough. I think, the point it was trying to make. But yeah, I mean, it's I love like sort of artsy fartsy pretty movies for the sake of being all style and whatnot. I mean, I watched some movies that were like extremely style with crappy stories or crappy execution. And, I mean, some things come to mind, at least visually in my head. I'm not remembering names, but yeah, like movies I watched that were very stylish, but had either no substance or just, like I said, poor execution, where it's like, I really don't care what the story is. Um, One of my favorite movies, and maybe because I've only watched it uh, twice or however many times I watched it, was, and it's a long name, and I usually forget the exact title, but it's like the cook, the thief, something, his lover, and his lover, or it's like I think it's a French movie. It's Helen Mirren is in it. I freaking love, and it's like one of those style movies. I dig it, especially to Bunny Mac. But let's not kid ourselves about the story. um, but yeah, like I like the occasional like good foreign movie. I don't have qualms about reading subtitles. Um, sometimes like a foreign movie would be dubbed, and if the dub's okay, then it works. Some dubs take away from the quality of the movie, but yeah, the, the cook, the thief, her lover, whatever the full title is, was was very very different kind of movie, and it's very dark and very goes to a very very dark place, but it was good fun. Like I'm not sure how many people loved. I think it was Oblivion, the Tom Cruise future movie, and I heard somebody expressed it as like this is like the future if it was designed by like the people who designed the iPhone, and it's very much that. But that I thought was a good movie too. I'm pretty easy unlike nefarious here. The cook, the thief, his wife, and her lover. That's the title of it. Yeah. Um, the cook, the thief, his wife, and her lover. And I would have never seen that, but I used to go to the movie theater in New York all the time, and there's one down movie theater in the village that plays those quirky, not mainstream movies. So I was lucky enough to see it in the theater, and it's like, yeah, I love this. I love this. And it's like it was also an era when, frankly, there was more nudity in films. It's like, um, you don't do it just to have boobs flying around in a movie, but you do it with some quality and panache. Um, it's not National Lampoon just throw boobs everywhere, but you also have story and cool characters and interesting plot and all that. And Ronnie says, I really like the 80s version of the Blob. I know people prefer the 50s version. Um, yeah, I mean, I remember liking both. I want to say, like, was it Kevin Dillon in the 80s version of the Blob? I even forget, like, the cast. I know I enjoyed it. It's like I can, for most movies, because I saw 18 billion movies at this point. Um, I can give you a rough estimate of if I liked it or not. Which, in more cases than not, I like things. Um, but I couldn't tell you much about it. I would have to watch it again. But I know I enjoyed it. Believing was sort of pretty, and the story, not the setting. The setting is fine. The actual plot, the sequence of events that happens was confusing to me, and I don't understand why things happen. Possibly. Yeah, I mean, it's like my criteria of a good story, especially for a movie, um, even as like a creator and potential writer, uh, I'm, I have to be entertained. So, like, whatever gets me there, whatever keeps me enthralled. Um, Story doesn't have to be perfect, and a lot of times when watching a movie and I'm not exactly understanding what's going on, my first assumption is, well, obviously, like, the movie's smarter than me, and I don't understand, understand what's happening. um, and hopefully that's the case, and I'm not just a total idiot. And you know, uh, I like movies that are smarter than me, and watching them make me feel 1% smarter. Um, like there's movies like Mulholland Drive, which or um, dang it, what was the Christopher Nolan? Not his newest one, the one with the spinning top. You know what I'm talking about? In Insurgent. Um, anyway, it's like watching those movies, kind of movies. It's like you watch it 2 or 3 times, and you're like, oh, I get it. Like, not everything's explained, but by giving it multiple views, It's sort of, oh, okay, I see what they're doing here, and they go back there, and that happened then, and you know, it's like movies that are clever. Dig those. Although, half the time I just want to watch something mindless for the fun of it. I really don't remember it that well, but there was a war against these bug aliens, and somehow Tom Cruise gets Groundhog Day powers from them. Then he teams up with a badass chick, and they win. Um, wasn't that his other one, or is it all the feature movies Tom Cruise does? Um, that was what was the name of that one? I can't search because if I start googling things, um, then my internet crashes. Um, but that was Emily Blunt and him and uh, Tom Cruise and everybody fighting this war is wearing like exoskeletons. Um, wasn't Day After Tomorrow or whatever. War of the Worlds. No, not War of the Worlds. But that was a Tom Cruise movie. Hey, welcome, Jake, by the way. You the manga that movie was adopted from? Um, are you talking Oblivion? Oh, Edge of Tomorrow. Yeah, that was it. Yeah, Edge of Tomorrow. That was a good movie. Oblivion was, God, I don't even remember what the story was. But everything was super clean and like the tech was just gorgeous. Stop watching uh, Tom Cruise sci-fi after that. I don't think he did much. I'm not sure if Edge of Tomorrow. I believe was after Oblivion, but Edge of Tomorrow is good. Um, there was talks about a sequel. I don't think it would be a fun sequel, but you don't have to take every great movie and make a sequel. Um, like Minority Report was a great movie. Another Tom Cruise future movie. Um, and it's like there is no sequel, and really it doesn't need a sequel. Not every movie does. Ba, 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 ba. And Jake says, "As just I mean, it is adopted. Well, all you need is kill." Ah, ah, yeah, man. More and more movies are adopted from comics, and like I said, like manga. And I think that's cool. You know, as long as the creators are getting their payday. Yeah, I don't think I ever saw Oblivion. My mistake. It was good. It's like from what I remember, it wasn't a 5-star movie, but I enjoyed it. Half the time I just want to go to a movie theater with a bunch of friends and just enjoy a night out and goofy movie for whatever reason. Oblivion, I skipped wholesale. I looked to appeal to sci-fi intellectuals. Mm, maybe. Uh, I don't remember it as an intellectual movie. I think it was just pretty. Like Mario Party was continuing a short live TV show. I did not know. I'll have to look that up. Not that I will watch it, but the movie was great in my opinion. You read the K. Dick book it was based off. Um, I did. Um, like I mentioned, Army of the Dead, and Army of the Dead is it's just a fun you know a fun movie. When me and my friend sat down to watch it, like we just need things. Life has been crazy. We've been busy. Shit's been going on. Just want to sit down to a fun romp, and it's got it's got a really fun credits intro, and just story, and you know, and like usual, like a lot of movies I watch, it's like um, it seems like every third movie is based in New York, and I'm from New York, so I go, oh, I know that block, I know that neighborhood, I've been there. You could point stuff out. So with Army of the Dead, it's in Vegas. I've only been in Vegas once, but I was there for what, a week, and I walked around Vegas a bunch, and it probably wasn't filmed in Vegas, but you know, it felt like Vegas. Um, and it's like, yeah, I've been there. Picture myself in the movie fighting zombies. All right, now chat is heating up. What short story? Nefarious. No, Jake, reading the description, most plots that use time travel are hard for me to I can hear that. No, I haven't read it either. It's all right, but not travel reverse agents rule operates a different to the movie. Cool. Yeah, I really don't remember it all. I just remember liking it. And to me, it's like I know not everybody feels that way, but like Tom Cruise is the easiest sell for me. Like I usually enjoy most of what he does. You know, can't say that about a lot of actors. It's like I love Nicolas Cage, but he's not always. Him being in a movie doesn't guarantee a good movie. Uh, Although he's always fun. There's a lot of Nicole Kidman. Um, she does a lot of movies I definitely wouldn't be interested in. Some I've watched and enjoyed, but yeah, a lot of period pieces. Not necessarily a period piece kind of guy. And I can go on. But so it goes. All right, let's see. Okay. Would be fun to wander in Vegas and imagine Dead Rising 2 with a Zombieland touch. Yep. Well, Zombieland, the first one was amazing. The sequel was okay. It was enjoyable, but in my opinion, it's like if it's not better, then it's not. There's no cause for a sequel unless it's really better. And Zombieland 2 wasn't better. It had its moments, but yeah, it's like Pacific Rim. I thought Pacific Rim was amazing. Sequel was freaking enjoyable, but I felt let down. It was like, different characters and whatnot. So Jake says, Ghost Protocol and Rogue Nation are pretty tight. And that one Jack Reacher film. Yep. Jack Reacher was a lot of fun. I think it was Ghost Protocol is probably my favorite Men in Black. My favorite Mission Impossible movie. Or maybe it's just the one I watched the most over and over. Was that Brad Bird? I think that was Brad Bird that did that one. Regardless of what he is as a person or whatever. I think what is it? The Invincibles, the Incredibles. The Incredibles was dynamite. And there's another one. There's like Incredibles had a sequel. It was fun, but it was nowhere near the magic of the first one. It was like, yeah, we waited so long for a sequel, and we got a sequel, and it was satisfying to a point, but it wasn't the same level. I definitely didn't enjoy it as much, and I was probably expecting too much. If it's going to be done right, I'll comment to the role NCR Ranger from Fallout New Vegas and Walk the Strip LARPing. Are those games? I have no clue. Pacific Rim was a masterpiece. The sequel made no sense. It made some sense, but yes, Pacific Rim, the first one, was a masterpiece. I freaking loved it. The sequel, what let me down the most, spoilers, Charlie Day was the actor's name, that he turned out to be a villain. I was like, oh, screw this. I hated that. He was such a fun character in the first one. Then they made him a bad guy. I didn't go with that. I didn't like that at all. Everything was downhill after Top Gun. I was thinking the other day. It's like, Tom Cruise made his name for, now I'm blanking. Where is it? A Pimp in School? What the hell was the name of that? Dun, 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 dun. You know what I'm talking about. Anyway, it's like, wouldn't it be goofy, off the wall? You'd have to get an excellent writer if they did a sequel to that movie. Anyway, Nefarious. Who knows what happened there? Could use a proofreader or war master in the writing room. Yeah, for sure. No, it made no sense. They tried to explain to you what it made sense during the movie, but unless you just hard wave logic and the setting mythology, their experience didn't make sense. Also, the cast sucked. You're probably right. I mean, I like whatever the actor's name that was in Star Wars. Um, I liked him, but you know, I think it was a mistake not to have the original cast, and it seemed forced more than anything, story wise. But yes, like I agree. Like they kind of just explain things, and I wasn't anywhere near invested, even if it did make sense. Risky Business, duh. Yeah, risky. Imagine, imagine a sequel to Risky Business. Uh, I think that would be funny. Like, obviously, it's like centuries later, and he's no longer in school, but somehow, like, he doesn't have a real, like, he's not a real pimp, but he's, something. I don't know. Crimson trains are downgraded from planes. Did I miss a comment? I don't know. Jake says, Nefarious, and that's how you fuck up storytelling by crunching onto the explanation stick. I thought of a War Master as a guidance counselor for a writer to omit elements word wise and visually hint. Jake says, riskier business. We're getting the sequel to Top Gun, though, probably named Maverick, so maybe Crimson will see his sequel to Risky Business too. Yeah, I mean, it's like I will see Top Gun. I definitely enjoyed the original movie. I don't think it would be anywhere near as good, but I'm curious what it will be. Um, you know, it's kind of like when they did Star Trek, and like the crew was older, and Captain Kirk was wearing glasses, and it's like, oh, yay. I don't know. It just seemed depressing. Uh, it's like if you're going to do an old character, don't just make them depressing. And there's a way to do that, but Jake Nefarious sweats in lawsuit. I am all in on Top Gun sequel, and I'm pretty sure it's going to suck. Quite possibly. I'm hoping for the best. Um, Nefarious. Jake Twister would be third best thing with the same name. R.I.P. Hollywood Magic. Georgia is where it's at. Yeah. Yeah, more and more things are filmed in Georgia. There was the recent news that Amazon bought MGM. What does everybody think of that? Um, yeah, I was going to buy MGM myself, but I didn't have $8 billion laying around. So that's the only reason I didn't buy it. um, I do know, like, the news reports have been, saying, like, well, now Amazon will own James Bond. Um, but don't they own a lot more if they own MGM now? And should I be scared that Amazon owns one of my favorite film characters? I'm not sure at this point. I am looking forward to the next James Bond movie, which was originally supposed to come out near my birthday last year, and now we're getting it October, November. When are those months? Sequels that take forever is better than most remake. I'm glad they didn't remake Revenge of the Nerds like they had planned. Um, yeah, I mean, it's a mixed bag. I mean, some sequels that are done right away, as opposed to sequels that are done later. I mean, I don't. That has no effect on the quality. Um, but like, some movies are made with a sequel now in mind, but a lot of the sequels we get nowadays seem like they're making things up left and right. It's like I was so dying to see Godzilla vs. Kong, and it's a great movie, but I think they took a bit of a left turn, and but I was pretty happy with it. Not 100%, but Jake says MGM can SMD, but we're finally getting back Bond on Amazon Prime. SMD? What do you mean? Fill me in. I don't know your kid's shorthand. Um. Oh, I know what it means. You're being dirty. I got you. Yeah, I don't know what MGM is nowadays. Anyway, I mean, it used to be a freaking huge, powerful studio, and New Hollywood is nowhere near what Hollywood was 40, 50 years ago. So who knows what anything means? I think I think, like, there's a lot of good stuff being made on streaming. Um, but I don't feel that anything I've seen on streaming, like, movie wise, like 2-3 hour movie, um, is the kind of quality movie that shows up on in theaters. Like, there's a reason why it showed up on streaming. But nowadays it's like, well, because more people watching stuff on at home as opposed to going to theaters, then maybe that will shift. But yeah, you know I loved Bond. I think it was Diamonds Are Forever was the first movie I saw in the theater with my family. You know, uh, prior to that, the only movies I saw were those movies on TV, and there used to be Sunday afternoon movies, Sunday evening movies. Disney had like movies uh, Saturday night, Sunday night, whatever it was. PBS showed like movies with nudity, like after midnight or something. Um, but nowadays it's like you got cable, you got streaming, you got regular TV, you got you know theater movies, and it's like there's so much movies and TV shows content being made. It's freaking insane. Um, and the world has changed so much. Jake says, I don't like the streaming world. I want to go back to Waterville Cinema with the projector. Bitch eats by the eye. I have currently, like not paying for all of them, but Netflix, HBO Max, Amazon Prime, and Disney Plus. I would say HBO is currently my favorite. I mean, I've been like most people, watching stuff on Netflix forever, and they continue to put out good movies and shows. Um, but like as far as new fresh stuff that I haven't seen that is on streaming, I would say I really like HBO Max, because HBO is known for quality, and there's a bunch of stuff I haven't seen yet still that's on there. Um, Netflix still puts out great stuff. It's just you have to find it, like anywhere. Um, like I watched that Jupiter's Legacy. That was great. I really like that. Um, Based off a comic, and Amazon Prime has a lot of good stuff on it. Again, you have to find it, and it sort of also gives you, or it makes you subscribe to other things, even if it's for free initially. I don't like, just tell me what you have. I don't want to go to some other service, blah blah blah, this, that, and the other thing. But Amazon rules the world, and now they own MGM. So there you go. Smell-o-vision was way better back then. Cow dung. Hey, allergies. All right, Russ. Russ. Uh, Ronnie, have to go get medical at Walmart. Then get ready next week's launch. Hope you all have a great day, evening. You too. definitely. And good luck on next week's launch. Jake claps hands. Yeah, I mean, I've been going a lot longer than I thought I would. Um, my new cat, um, what's her name? Molly has quieted down in the bathroom, so I was able to finally relax here. But thank you all for joining the conversation today. I'm still going a little bit, but I probably won't go 2 hours. Um, yeah, I have to go to the post office later, but waiting on somebody before I do, so I got some other work I got to take care of, and yada 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 yada. What's everybody doing today? That's still in the chat. I don't clap hands. I clap cheeks. And now is as good a time as any is if you're watching this after the live stream and you're not already a patron of mine, but you do appreciate all that I do, then by all means, go to patreon.com/Peter Palmiotti and become one today. I would say I recently started posting there every day, and it kind of got almost zip reaction. So anything that gets no reaction is harder for me to continue. I really want to be more productive on Patreon. I think what I'm going to do is keep it to new original art. I don't post elsewhere, or at least I post there first, or something to that effect. Yeah, I keep stumbling in trying to do a webcomic over there, so I think I should keep it something more attainable. Going to work on a comic in a few hours. In the meantime, I'm warming up by intellectually waxing my smooth brain. You're too smooth, as they say. So, are you, Jake, going to be building a YouTube channel? Did you decide that's a thing you want to do, or are you just a guest of everybody else? uh, uh, uh. But this was fun today, talking movies. I guess it's something I can talk about easily, and I have opinions just like anybody else on things I like, things I don't like, blah blah blah. Briefly, I thought maybe I should do like a movie review, but I don't know. When it comes to my opinions, I don't think I'm very intellectual or like. It's like it's good, it's bad, that sucked. Like I don't have a wide range of opinions, and it's funny. It's like For entertainment, for my entertainment, I love watching those that do the sort of movie reaction, like first time watching Matrix or Mummy or whatever film or TV show, and then they're reacting as they're watching. Um, my God, it's like there would be actors, and um, they're really overplaying their reactions. So I'm I'm kind of thinking, like, I get into phases of what I watch, and I'm kind of thinking that maybe I should take a break from that and get into something else. Like for a while, I was listening to audiobooks, like self help or business. Like it's informative and entertaining at the same time, while not taking away from me focusing on getting work done. Um, but yeah, the reactions videos lately are just a little more acted than usual. Not buying into it anymore. I'm not naive. But we got okay. Yeah, we got Frank Salazar showing up. Still alive. I'm not sure if that's him or me. Look, all these AAA creators in the chats on my channel, Frank. For the last few hours on the video idea about where comics will go, as to suggest what types of industry changes in a hypothetical. Yeah, I've been flirting with doing short edited videos on comic topics or creation or have you myself. But yeah, I mean that's great. So I assume that you are going to go forth, Jake, with some sort of YouTube channel, and this Jake clapping at Salazar. Peter Retro Palmiotti. Don't worry, I may be begging a bunch of college, begging a bunch of college tuition book price words, but pee pee poo poo. Reacting to the 9-volt anthology. Yes, indeed. Which Jake was a part of. You were a part of. Ronnie was here not long ago, and he was a part of, I believe. Boom, 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 boom. So let's see. You know what? I'm going to go the extra 15 minutes. I'm going to go for 2 hours. It wasn't what I originally planned. I kind of go with my gut sometimes, and I stepped on here and thought, yeah, I'll do a half-hour stream. But I got lost in conversation. I had a good chat going, and there's no like new super truths that have been discovered here. There's no secrets to what I do or whatever. I did mention some of my work up at Marvel earlier. Those care. Um, in the long run, and the long and short of it is that I was lucky enough to get into the door. I was not lucky enough to have a run on any of their books. Um, but admittedly, like my time there, like the '90s up at Marvel, and part of it was because of Image was created and became a huge phenomenon. Then there was like a bit of a crash because everybody was buying like 15 copies of this number one or that number one. So like the what do you call it? The collectors of that time came into comics and bought up tons and tons of books. And then when they figured out, hey, all these number ones I bought, I could probably only sell for, a much lower price than the cover price. They all left, and the industry kind of crashed in comparison after that. So it wasn't so stable up at Marvel, and I think some point with their bankruptcy and all that jazz, yeah, I really would have loved to work on uh, uh, a Marvel book back in the '80s. To be utterly honest, and if I got to choose like what era, um, and it's like I'm not even thinking specific artists or whatever, but it was a more stable time, and they were more focused on continuity, and it's like one of the things I started doing in the '90s, besides all the multiple covers and I started canceling out the continuity, keeping the numbering going, and that's something I enjoyed. Like I can get behind a book that's ongoing, that has regular team runs, that the character doesn't shift completely from story arc to story arc. His world isn't thrown upside down every year. Chat. The longer the conversation goes on, the longer the computer takes to ink. Become full super soldier today. Second dose is scheduled in 5 hours. Should we worry? Now Captain Goggles will take up the crossbow and shoot the goof. Good on you for streaming. You're getting work done. It's been a full week of no Sirocco Creative Cast. Hopefully we'll do something next week. Gotta get on it. Jake COVID has nothing on Captain Goggles. I know, because I have faith in him. Yeah, man. Let's see. When I see a lot of traditional inkers nowadays, I see a lot of people using markers, and back in the day, I I really hated the idea of people using markers, and it's like I could see like how there's one artist on Instagram. He's also on Facebook. Somebody I've been following. And if I screw up his name, I'm sorry, but I think his name is Grant Richardson. And to my knowledge, he only uses a marker. Um, but he is highly talented, and I love like the cross hatching he does with marker is very precise and very like a craft he's built up over years. But yeah, back in the early days of me being working on comics and seeing things other inkers used, and I never liked seeing markers because frankly, the quality of markers, much like printing and many things, has improved over the years. Um, it seemed to be like only one marker or marker type back in the day. Um, and now it is a wide variety. You can get marker that's like a brush now, and lots of a lot more options. Anyway, the only artist I accepted the fact that they were using markers was Gil Kane, and I still like seeing his work, uh, inked with a brush or a quill or whatever. Um, but I always loved Gil Kane's work and the quality he brought to his work. Um, and even though, like when he inked himself and it was with markers, it was kind of it wasn't smooth or slick, or it was kind of junky. If I'm going to make up a word. Um, but I still loved it because it had like the essence of um, his building blocks within it, and I think that's always cool to see. Let's see, when an artist does windows and they throw down all the lines so that all the windows line up. The problem with that is I don't know what lines to use. I sometimes use all the lines, uh, and that's a mistake. If they don't go in and erase what lines shouldn't be there, sometimes have a hard time figuring out what exactly are the lines I should be using and what lines should I be avoiding. Thus is the eternal dilemma of an Inca. Not really, but I, a lot of times I leave it up to the colorist, but oh no, I'm going to be coloring this book too, and I'm going to be making a lot of shit up. There'd be a lot of blues or something. I say blue, but one of the horror stories of an anchor spends like a whole day or two on certain pages, um, like that involve vast backgrounds or armies of characters or um, crowds. then we'd get. It'll always be like one colorist who, regardless of what's on the page, who color full sections blue. It's like, okay, this will separate the main character from everything else on the page. We'll color everything else blue. And it'd be like, that looks horrible. And it's such a waste of all that artwork that you don't color it the way it should be colored. But, there's somebody mentioned recently, like, that many pencilers always bitch about inkers and the way the inkers ink them. Me, it's like, yeah, I'll always bitch about the way some things have been colored. And now I'm forcing myself into coloring, and will be experiencing that whole skill set, and know that I'll probably be regretting my own words. Don't expect anything fancy. I'm coloring old school, like the 80s. So, all right, where were we? Okay. Here we go. Cellular markers are great. Too bad I'm not good at hatching with them. Yeah, I mean, you can do some amazing things. Just like the artist I mentioned, Grant Richardson, if that's his name. He does very precise hatching, which, like, there's all sorts of methods to hatching. Like, it's do a little school. Do I have a? Let me use a pencil. It's like straightforward hatching. Like, imagine those thick to thin, just one way hatching, and you can do that on arms and make the arms look rounder, and where the shadow goes, the hatching lines that get thicker and all that. Then there's like lines like that, but then the hatching is just slightly a different path. But then there's hatching, like, some inkers hatch. You get the vertical lines, but then they hatch horizontally, which is, set. You get grids instead of diamond shapes or triangles or whatever. And I go on gut instinct a lot of times. And sometimes, like, sometimes is the hatching where you really want it, like, it's whatever spot you're hatching on was really intended for it to be like maybe a black background or a black spot on the page. And so you go, one way and then another, which is close to it. And then another, which is maybe a slightly different angle. Then you really go in with a brush and start almost going in with thick black lines. Then you go another way with thick black lines, and you get like a thick bold lines on top with a grid of hatching lines behind that. And that's useful for spots. Sometimes, like, what I like to do is, and it has nothing to do with hatching, but like if you get a black area, I like to, you know, a lot of times you just fill it in totally black, but I like to throw in little white specks, different shapes, so it gives it. If every black area is a completely black area, it's kind of a just a black void that has no life to it. But if you throw in some white specks in the black area, it gives it a little more life. So that's my 2 cents. Um, sounds all right. Well, there goes the Captain Blue Gallows Blue Edition. There you go. Have you tried doing inks in Muro pen? I would say no because I don't know what that is. I mean, for the most part, I use regular traditional brush quill Rupidiographs. Um, this is something I showed off recently, which is it's a acrylic painter, and that's for white. I barely use it. I use it for certain things, but it's definitely excellent for stars. I used to use white acrylic paint, um, and that used to dry up. So the pen is actually much better. Um, what else we got? Peanut inks with all the pens. Hey Jake, how's the AAA going? Lively and talkative. Oh, that's right. Salazar is taking a break from the AAA. The usual gripes and takes. That's good to hear. So EJB says Ameripen is a Japanese version of a Crocodile. Well, there's a Crocodile type and a mapping type. Um, I use a Hunt 102. Do I have one here? Here. Um, this is a Hunt 102, and I've tried other quill points. Like there's a 107, which is like that's good for really big, thicker lines. Um, but I was like, well, if I'm going to do big, thicker lines, I could just as easily do it with a brush because that's, like quill to me is good for like if you got very tiny details in a small area, like a million details, you can go in with a quill and do a great job and give weight to all the lines and all that. Um, but so it is I'm probably pronouncing it wrong, but is it a marker or is it use like a real ink, the Moro pen? So a weeb pen. I got some Moro nibs around, exhausting on the wrist. That would be the regular G pen. Yeah, I mean, it's like I've randomly gotten other tools. Um, throughout the years, especially when I lived in New York. There was a lot of art stores that I could travel downtown, and there'll be Pearl Paints. Pearl Paints was freaking. It was a store in Chinatown. Might still be there. Who knows? Um, that was 7 floors, and they had their own staircase to go from floor to floor, and they just had all, like each floor was a different sort of section. Like this would be paints, this would be paper, this would be, you know, whatever, brushes. Um, and, occasionally I picked up something different, or somebody else picked me up something different and gave it to me, hey, try this out, you might like it, you might integrate it. Um, but I'm very set on what I use, um, to the point that I got a digital tablet. What was it, a year and a half ago, and I still haven't used it other than messing around with it a couple of times. I do intend to use it, and specifically for some projects, but uh, I really just got to get focused on finishing project after project after project. Retro is not going to be the first thing I finish. I got a short anthology story. I'll probably finish that first. But it's definitely a priority this year to get retro fully inked, um, and printed and out to those that already pledged for it. At some point, I got to work on the 0 issue, which is the origin of Retro's name. And more, I'm thinking like I was going to originally do it as an 8-page story, and it's like, well, I don't want the 0 issue to be like a tiny nothing issue. So I'm not fully sure how that's going to pan out, but worry about that when I get there. But yeah, I got projects with other people, inking, and my own projects. I gotta make some major progress on. So lots to do as per usual. So yeah, it's a little over 2 hours here, so I think we'll be wrapping it out. Before I do, we'll go into the chat. Where was I? Okay, okay, yeah. So Mirapen is with India Ink. Okay, so it's not a marker. I guess could be in the same bracket as H102, Hunt 102. Probably. It's like I've worked with speaking of which, like some calligraphy pens. No letterer, especially being left-handed. I can't letter this way. I actually have to letter backwards. Otherwise, I just smush everything as I go. Um, so I experimented with a different range of sort of quill points, or calligraphy points. A mirror literally means circle. So they're round nibs, just like the 102. I gotcha. Oh, cool. Ugh. Oh yeah, just getting my day started. Yeah, I actually haven't had breakfast yet, so probably stop this stream in a minute and go get some breakfast. I have something to send out to the post office. I have other inks I gotta be doing. And I'm co-writing something with somebody and got lots going on. So not 100% sure if I'll be streaming this weekend, but I will definitely be around again next week. So give this video a like if you haven't already. Thanks everybody who joined in the chat. Fun conversation all. And till next time, take care and keep making art and comics.